Hi everyone. Today we are inviting the special guest to University of Creativity, the head of Cannes Lions. We are usually invited to Cannes, but today we are inviting him to UOC. Welcoming Simon Cook, CEO of Cannes Lion International Festival. Hi, Simon. Good morning.
Hello.
Hi.
How are you?
Pretty good.
Very nice to be here virtually.
Thank you again for your visiting UOC. It was like almost a year ago.
Yeah, just over a year ago. It was such a pleasure to see the university in person. It was very exciting to see all the things that you've been working on over the past few years.
How did you feel about the University of Creativity?
It was fantastic. It's such an inspiring space. It was great to see that their projects have great momentum and having a really positive impact in business in the world. So it was a very good thing to see indeed.
Right. Regarding the when we launched the University of Creativity, that was one of the trigger that I was in the Cannes Lions when it became Cannes Lions Festival of Advertising to the Cannes Festival of Creativity, and then you guys had the very wide range of the programs. I think that was the year the Cannes started to becoming the University of Creativity ahead of us.
Wow, yeah. It was a big year that year, making the shift to being a festival of creativity rather than just advertising. Advertising is a cool part of what we do, but of course we celebrate the full spectrum of creativity today, as you say.
Right. First, I want to ask about of course, the future between AI and the creativity.
Ah, yes.
Everyone talking about relationship between creativity and AI everywhere. From your point of view, what will be the impact of AI on humans' creativity? Will it be a threat or chance in the 5 years? Can you give us your opinion, please?
Of course. I think it's really interesting because we see lots of trends come and go, especially at the festival itself. And for those that attended last year, they would have noticed that AI or topics around AI dominated the stages at Cannes Lions. Everyone was talking about it. But I think the conversation will become much more interesting this year. I anticipate that many people will be talking about AI, but as an applied discipline rather than just talking about it theoretically. Because as we know, things are moving very quickly in that space. From our side of things, we think it's something that should be embraced, but it's important to remember that human intervention will always play a role. The hope is that AI will take away some of the more mundane activities that we're engaged with on a day-to-day basis. That will allow us to have more time, more space to pursue more strategic upstream thinking when it comes to creativity. So I think it comes with opportunity. I think it does come with a degree of threat, but I think the important way to approach it is to remember that as long as humans are playing an active role and intervening, then there's nothing really to be worried about.
Right. As you said, it started from the theoretical discussion, but we have started to apply a lot of things. And they started from the consulting or data analysis. And then now we make use of that for the planning, and then we started to use AI for graphics and then movie as well. What do you think the role of creative director or role of marketing director will change? How will it be changing with AI?
I think the introduction of AI is going to have a really profound effect, not just on the jobs of creatives and marketers, but all jobs to some extent. We really should think about AI as being similar to the introduction of the internet. So it's going to have a dramatic impact across everything that we do. But I think the key thing is to stay ahead of it. The key thing is to really anticipate and work with some of the tensions that exist there today. And that way we're constantly on the front foot and we're helping to shape and inform how those roles need to evolve rather than reacting to something that feels very much out of our control.
Right. The ChatGPT 3.5 and ChatGPT 4.0 had much more advanced the capacity to give us optimization at the very fast speed, right? The data said they have the 100 trillions parameters to give us some sort of the large language models for some optimization. My concern is the optimization leads us to the homogenization somehow. So if we're having a marketing the agenda or creative agenda, and we ask AI, and then they give us the sounds like right answer right away, the optimization. But if we follow everything in every similar manner, and then our solution becomes homogenized. So somehow the creative director can be a little bit critical or making use of the way the AI will optimize the answer, but having some sort of cultural distance from that. Maybe that's what I think. But what do you think about it?
I think if you wanted to avoid producing mediocre work, then you would have to prioritize human intervention. Because if you just put everything through AI without any kind of human intervention, then I think you would end up with, as you say, something that feels very homogeneous. And as we know, distinction and difference is the thing that really cuts through and creates memories and impact and resonance.
Thank you. I'm looking at this year's category of the awards map, and then you guys have 29 categories.
Yeah, that's correct.
It's been increasing and increasing every year. Not only the numbers of you guys' awards, but nowadays creativity is being utilized for DX and the corporate innovation, consulting and new media and the social issues and so on. It's becoming too wide to grasp. How do you evaluate the traditional creativity back in advertising or film craft or graphic design?
Yeah, I think when the festival started, there was just one award, right? That was film and TV and cinema advertising. Today, we recognize everything from craft and communications right through to commerce, business transformation. Luxury is the new category this year. And the important thing for us is that we are constantly reflecting the evolving nature of the industry. So we work very closely with people in our community from all over the world to understand how the landscape is changing and how our awards need to reflect that. And in many cases, introducing new lions, new awards that help pave the way forward as well. So if you think about the introduction of health a few years ago, that was in response to the health industry coming to us, asking us to introduce a new category because they understood that a benchmark needed to be created in order to elevate the level of creativity around health-branded communications. And so one thing that's really important to us is that as we introduce new lions, we also retire lions as well. So although we've introduced luxury this year, it's now time for the mobile category to be retired, just because mobile has become so ubiquitous and a part of everything that we do. You know, I was reading only today that LVMH in the luxury space are starting to move into branded content in a way that they haven't before. And I think the success of that really relies on the things that we within the classic advertising industry have known for a long time. You know, it relies on a brilliant, great idea that addresses some kind of truth that is executed brilliantly, has distinguished craft, and has the ability to impact and address the brief. And I think for some people that's quite difficult to get to.
Mm-hmm. LVMH and also the way of giving a birth to the idea. For example, LVMH has their own creative director, right? Mm-hmm. It used to be the advertising agency had the creative director and then give them idea. The relationship of the storytelling and the product telling is starting merged in the client side. Now consulting's coming in, and then also the digital companies coming in, and then they're always looking for the bigger idea and the bigger execution. I think it's gotta be depending on the industry, but I'm just curious about the what kind of industry will take more advantage? Will it be a big empire again, like an advertising agency merging the big consulting agency? Or it's gonna be like a little tiny boutique having more impact to our world?
I think it's difficult to say at the moment. The trend at the moment seems to be pulling together the best possible organizations and individuals for a particular job and having different specialists in the room to be able to bring that diversity of expertise and thought. And we'll see how things continue to evolve.
I'm gonna move to the cultural question. I wanna ask you about contemporary Japanese creative scene. Can you frankly describe the strength and the weakness?
You know, one of the things that the Japanese market has always been known for, even to this day, is the exceptional craft. And we can see that in some of the winners from last year, especially one particular Grand Prix, which did very, very well. So craft is what Japan is known for, but also I think new technologies and emerging ways of tackling how we interact with consumers. So there's been some very interesting work in recent years that's been more on the commerce side. And so I think that combination of craft and commerce coming together in a really interesting way has underpinned a lot of the entries that we've seen coming through from Japan in recent years. And then on the more constructive side, or I guess some points to consider for the Japanese market would be more around, I think, purpose-led work and the role that it plays. Because I think, you know, a few years ago, we were seeing lots of work that was purpose for the sake of purpose. And I think it's important for every market, but for Japan as well, to really think about how we take purpose-led work that perhaps addresses some kind of social cause or cause that promotes good in the world, but also has to be driving a client's business simultaneously as well.
I see. Any suggestion to make it better to the some Japanese creative scene from your point of view?
Not to make it better, I think, you know, one of the things we saw last year, the reintroduction once again of humor. For many years, we'd seen a lot of the work be very serious and very somber. And it felt like in 2024, a lot of the winners had a sense of levity and lightness, and where humor was being reintroduced as a tactic to cut through and to create more resonance with consumers. And I think that trend will continue because what we're seeing is more of a swing back towards more commercially led work, where the intention is just to entertain and engage rather than to pull at the heartstrings of consumers or jurors in this case.
Right.
And so I think an area that Japan might want to think about is how they can start to reintroduce humor and levity to the work, because I remember a few years ago, not that long ago, where the very famous Japanese work that was coming through, especially in film, had that irreverence, that silliness, that, you know, very specific cultural humor that was coming through, that was doing so well in the market, but was also appreciated from everyone who was looking at the winners in those particular years.
I see. Japanese culture has the very historical aesthetics, like, side of it, Zen and Do and the ceremony and architecture, right? And then Japanese culture has a contemporary side, like a manga or game and fashion and all those things. In some way, that old and new can merge, and then they are more expressive, as you said, with more levity, the way of the creative communication, and then the advertising as well.
Yeah, absolutely. We could already see that happening. You know, if you think about that heritage traits that the Japanese work has, the great craft that has always been so consistent, with the more technological side, with work that is more rooted in commerce or data or even AI, the fusion of those two things coming together presents quite an interesting advantage and opportunity because of the two different strengths that the Japanese market showcases there.
Okay, thank you very much. And then I want to ask you the Cannes Lions. What is the role of Cannes Lions, and then in the future, is it changing? And then if so, in what way?
I think the one thing that will always remain the same, we're very conscious that we need to evolve to reflect the industry and wherever we can help to pave the way forward and have a very futures view of the industry. One thing that will always remain the same is the lion. You know, one thing that we must protect at all costs is this benchmark for creativity globally that we have. Without the lion, we're really just a conference in the sun. And for all of those reasons, we must protect the thing that helps us recognize what great creativity looks like internationally. But around that, I think there is more flex and more ability to reflect what's happening in the changing landscape. And so I think one of the things that we're starting to see is, alongside many different types of creatives from many different types of industries coming together to discuss creativity, also entertaining conversations and hosting conversations about the role of creativity more broadly. So it's interesting in the last few years that we've seen more governments and politicians and CEOs who want to come to the festival to talk about the upstream capabilities of creativity, which I think is a very positive thing for our industry. It helps us elevate the role of creativity.
All right. The same here too. The creativity has been discussed mainly by, for example, the marketing people, CMO. But now they are more of the CIO or CEO, organizational officer, come to University of Creativity and talk about creativity. Even CFO comes to talk about the importance of creativity. So elevating the role of creativity is I totally agree. But the Cannes will be still the lion-centered crazy people's festival, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Yes, we want to be able to recognize the evolving role of creativity. I think the fact that CEOs and CMOs are coming to the festival is interesting because they primarily come because they want to understand how to use creativity as a lever for growth within their organizations, which is great. But at the same time, I think for creatives, it's important that we continue to create and carve out the time and space for them to have that creative shot in the arm, to have that creative reboot, to be inspired and to have space away from the day-to-day job.
Thank you. What is the theme of Cannes Lions this year?
The main thing that we'll be focusing on is the role of creativity and creative impact.
Creative impact.
And so we'll be finding different ways to execute that across the festival. But then, as always, we want to be able to create new opportunity for the future of our industry as well. So this year we are giving away €1 million worth of passes to people from underrepresented communities and running many initiatives for young people to come and engage with the industry and what we do. So I think the more we can bring them in, the more we can start to safeguard what we do today and to give these people the opportunity to become the leaders of tomorrow in creativity.
It's interesting. How would you make it happen, to endorse the young leaders at the Cannes? Do you have any concrete program for inviting them?
Yeah, we have many programs. So we have the Cannes Lions School, which people can apply to take part in. That is a learning program throughout the week. See It Be It will be coming into its 10th year at the festival this year. Now that is a program that is designed to bring up to 15 women from around the world in the creative industries to Cannes. The idea of that is that it is an accelerator for their careers, because as we know, the gender imbalance at senior creative roles is not where it needs to be.
That's great. Cannes is becoming not a award, but becoming the school of creativity. Do you think that you guys gonna have some sort of Cannes existence through a year? I know you guys doing that online, but are you thinking about doing something maybe similar to us, or?
Well, I think in the future we need to continue to have that global celebration, but then think about ways where we can have local participation as well. And one of the things that we are exploring at the moment is having a year-round educational program. So really thinking about the opportunities where people internationally can take part in e-learning based on all of the different information that we hold, the data that we hold, and the access to global experts throughout the year who are very, very interested in informing and educating the next generation of creative leaders. So to answer your question, yes, we are thinking about what we can do throughout the year.
Oh, that's so interesting. I hope the Cannes Lions and EOC will be able to collaborate in some creative way in the future.
Absolutely. Very open to collaborating in the future.
Lastly, please give us any message or endorsing words to the people at this year's Creativity Future Forum, and then especially to young creators at University of Creativity, please.
Yeah, of course. Well, first of all, thank you so much for having me. It's been a great conversation as always. Having seen the University of Creativity firsthand, I was completely blown away and inspired by the initiative and everything that you do. And I think it's very, very important. So continuing to work with younger people within the industry so that they can have that broader impact in creativity today and tomorrow is going to be so important. So keep doing what you're doing, and look forward, hopefully, to see some of your work coming through at the Lions in the future.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Thanks for having me.
Let's get collaborated someday soon.
Let's do it. Thank you.